Welcome back, everybody. You know what time it is. It is time for another deep dive. And today, we're taking a look at the book of Nehemiah. On the surface, it's a story about rebuilding a wall, but when you really dig deeper, it's packed with all these incredible insights into leadership and resilience, and I think just about anyone can find some inspiration in there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you've ever felt like you're up against impossible odds, if you've ever had to rebuild something, from scratch, whether that's a project or a relationship or even just your own, sense of self, there's something in Nehemiah's story for you.
Yeah, I mean, imagine getting this news, right? That your homeland, the place that means everything to you, culturally, spiritually, is in ruins. Its walls are broken down. Its people are vulnerable. That's exactly what Nehemiah, who, by the way, is a cupbearer for the Persian king Artaxerxes, not a priest, not a prophet, a government official. That's what he hears. What do you think, what stands out to you about how he reacts to this news?
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Because he doesn't just jump into action mode. He takes the time to really process what he's hearing. I mean, we're talking mourning, fasting, praying, asking for guidance, strength. It shows a leader who is in touch with his emotions and someone who understands that he needs, a higher purpose to fuel what he's about to take on.
It's like he's grounding himself. He's getting ready for this monumental task ahead. And then he does something so bold. He actually goes to the king and asks permission to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild these walls.
I know that took some serious guts.
Oh,
Like, think about it. Jerusalem at this time, it's under Persian rule, and here's this, seemingly, not so important official asking to lead this massive reconstruction project. It could have easily been seen as like challenging the king's authority.
absolutely. It really shows Nehemiah's courage and, like you were saying before, his deep faith that the God is gonna make a way. And the crazy thing is, the king, he approves. He actually supports it, gives him resources, safe passage. I mean, talk about, the power of a strong, I guess, proposal, but also just his character.
Yeah, I mean, that says a lot about Nehemiah. I mean, he must have had, a good reputation in the king's court to gain that kind of trust and favor, to get that kind of approval.
So he gets to Jerusalem. He's ready to get to work, right?
Hmm.
But it's not exactly a smooth ride from there.
Oh, no, not at all. Right from the get-go, he's facing opposition. People like Sanballat, Tobiah, these local leaders, they see Nehemiah and they see like a threat. They see him as a threat to their power. So they start throwing all these roadblocks up, mockery, rumors, even threats of violence, just trying to sabotage the whole project.
Talk about political maneuvering. It's like he's dealing with that and just straight up sabotage.
Right.
But the way he handles these challenges, I think that's where it gets really interesting. He doesn't let it stop him,
Mm-hmm.
right? He rallies the people, organizes them into these teams, divides the work strategically,
Mm-hmm.
assigns sections of the wall to different families, guilds. I mean, talk about leadership.
Yeah, you can see the strategic mind at work here. But it's also about motivation. He knew he had to, delegate, right, divide the labor, but he also knew how important it was to make people feel like they were part of something bigger, give them ownership, make them feel responsible.
Yeah, and the fact that they were able to rebuild this massive wall in 52 days,
Mm.
I mean, working with tools in one hand, weapons in the other, that speaks volumes about their commitment and their, determination.
Right. I mean, talk about resilience. And I think that's Nehemiah's leadership shining through, right? Inspiring them, keeping them motivated even when things got, really, really tough.
But it doesn't end with the wall, right? Nehemiah's vision, it goes way beyond just bricks and mortar. He understood that true security, true well-being, it takes more than just physical barriers. He sees all this social injustice happening, things like usury, where the rich are exploiting the poor, with these crazy high interest rates, and he tackles it head on.
Yeah, it shows, how deeply he understands, what's going on in society, right? And
Yeah.
his commitment to righteousness, it wasn't just about, following the rules, by the book. He really wanted to make things right. I mean, challenging the wealthy to remember their covenant with God, reminding them to care for the vulnerable, the marginalized. That's powerful stuff.
So here he is, leading this social reform movement at the same time as this huge construction project. And then he also spearheads a spiritual revival. I mean, he organizes public readings and explanations of the law, making sure everyone understands, reconnects with their faith. I mean, that's what I'm talking about when I say multifaceted leadership.
Absolutely. He knew lasting change, like real lasting change, it had to happen on all those levels: physical, social, spiritual. He didn't shy away from the tough stuff,
Yeah.
challenging those in power, inspiring people to act for the greater good. And I think his story is such a powerful reminder that leadership, It's not just about checking boxes, it's about transforming a community.
Yeah, it's about rebuilding on all these different levels, right?
Yeah.
It's the physical structures, the social systems, even the spiritual foundations.
And it leaves us with this question, what are the walls in your own life, right? Or in your community that need rebuilding? Where do you see, the need for that Nehemiah kind of courage, that strategic thinking, that commitment to justice? Maybe it's about setting boundaries, in your personal life. Maybe it's about mending relationships. Or maybe it's even bigger, taking a stand against some kind of injustice you see. But remember, just like Nehemiah, you have the power to be an agent of change, to rebuild what's broken.
That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll
Yeah.
see you next time.
See you then.